kill you. You need
Who are you talking about?
You need to tell me what he's doing.
Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. Today, we're diving deep into the ending of The Woman in Cabin 10, a mystery thriller that proves two things. Rich people are insufferable, and evil plans never go as smoothly as they do on paper. The film is packed with deceit, greed, double identities, and a journalist who refuses to let the truth drown. So let's unpack what really happened in that twisted finale, and what it all means.
You're walking around, you were dreaming, and your addled attention.
Richard had a perfect plan, almost. At first glance, Richard Bullmer seems like your typical suave billionaire, the kind of man who looks like he's got everything under control. But beneath that calm, expensive exterior is a scheming sociopath who's more interested in inheritance money than in human life. The film reveals that Richard married Norwegian heiress Anne Lyngstad, not out of love, but for her immense generational wealth. When Anne decided to give away all her inheritance to a charitable foundation before dying of stage 4 leukemia, Richard's greed kicked in. Once he realized she had written him out of her will, he came up with an elaborate plan to kill her and inherit everything. His weapon? Deception, powered by technology and manipulation. Through his friend Lars Jensen's AI program, Richard found a woman named Carrie, Anne's doppelganger. Carrie, a struggling single mother, was desperate for money, so she agreed to impersonate Anne for a quick payday. Richard's plan was deceptively simple. Bring both Anne and Carrie aboard the luxury yacht Aurora Borealis for the launch of the Lyngstad Foundation. The rich guests would witness Anne's final days, cementing the illusion that she was terminally ill and close to death. Then, Dr. Robert Mehta, a disgraced doctor whom Richard had once saved from prison, would sedate Anne to death quietly. After that, Carrie would take her place and sign the will, transferring everything to Richard. Flawless on paper, right? But fate and a persistent journalist had other plans. The night everything went wrong. Anne wasn't supposed to find out about Carrie, but she did. She caught Richard and Carrie together in cabin 10, realized the horrifying truth, and confronted them. In a moment of panic and rage, Richard struck Anne, killing her instantly. He then threw her body overboard to cover up the crime. But that's when Laura Blacklock, a journalist from The Guardian who was covering the event, heard the noise. She opened her balcony door just in time to see a woman, Anne, floating in the water. Laura tried to alert the crew, but no one listened. According to the manifest, everyone was accounted for. No one was missing, and that's because Carrie, Anne's doppelganger, was still on board. Laura's insistence that she saw a woman go overboard made her look delusional. Captain Addis, who was in on the scheme, even tried to kill her by pushing her off the deck, but Laura survived. And from that point onward, she became a major threat to Richard's perfect plan. Addis erased her evidence and warned her to stay quiet, but Laura refused. Her instinct told her that something was terribly wrong. Carrie was the key. For most of the film, Laura and the audience believed that the woman in cabin 10, the one who went overboard, was Carrie. But the truth hits like a wave. Carrie is still alive. She reaches out to Laura and tells her everything about Richard's plan, Anne's death, and her own role as the unwilling accomplice. Her motivations make sense. She was broke, desperate, and trying to provide for her daughter. Richard's offer seemed like an opportunity, not a trap. But after Anne's murder, Carrie realizes she's next. Once she served her purpose, Richard would kill her too, to erase all loose ends. That's when Carrie decides to team up with Laura. Together, they plan to expose Richard and survive his increasingly unhinged attempts to silence them. Anne's earlier choice to invite Laura on board turns out to be poetic justice. She had read one of Laura's articles about Kurdish women fighters and admired her integrity. Anne wanted someone brave enough to tell her story, not as a gossip headline, but as a human story. And that's exactly what Laura becomes, the voice for the silenced. Sigrid, change of heart. One of the most surprising turns comes from Sigrid, Richard's head of security. Initially, she follows orders and helps maintain the illusion that everything is fine. But Laura manages to get through to her by appealing to her conscience. Sigrid had worked for Anne before Richard, and deep down, she knew the heiress didn't deserve such a fate. Realizing that Richard had crossed a line, Sigrid decides to betray him. She alerts the Norwegian authorities and helps Laura and Carrie expose the truth. During the final confrontation, when Richard tries to kill Carrie to tie up his last loose end, Sigrid shoots him in the shoulder, buying Laura and Carrie just enough time. Then, Laura finishes what fate started, striking Richard in the head with an anchor, killing him the same brutal way he killed Anne.
Poetic, symbolic, and satisfying, the predator finally falls victim to his own violence.
Look, you've seen me now. I'm alive. Now just drop this.
Carrie gets her freedom. With Richard dead and his empire of deceit crumbling, Carrie finally gets the peace she's been denied. She reunites with her daughter, armed with the money Richard gave her, a twisted kind of blood money that now serves as a new beginning. Despite everything, Carrie isn't portrayed as a villain. She's a woman who made a terrible choice out of desperation and then risked her life to make it right. Her arc closes on a hopeful note, a rare thing in a film filled with death and betrayal. She stays in touch with Laura, and their bond becomes a quiet testament to survival and sisterhood. Two women, both manipulated by powerful men, find strength in each other.
No, that is the woman I saw at a party thrown by another one of your guests.
Laura wrote a human story for inhumane times. At the start of the movie, we see Laura leaning against the elevator wall, her reflection staring back at her, a woman haunted by guilt. She had previously investigated an NGO scam where a whistleblower was murdered after speaking to her. The guilt from that story consumed her. But after surviving the nightmare on Aurora Borealis, Laura finds her purpose again. Instead of sensationalizing the scandal, she writes about Anne, the woman who wanted to use her wealth to heal the world. No cheap headlines, no clickbait, just truth, empathy, and dignity. Her article becomes a viral sensation, inspiring a new wave of young journalists to report with integrity. One intern even tells her, "You're the reason I wanted to work here." It's a touching moment, but also a subtle critique, because we as the audience never actually get to read her article. We're told she's great, but never shown her words. Still, the symbolism is clear. Laura transforms from a reporter chasing stories to one living them, using her voice to amplify others who were silenced. Justice, finally. The epilogue ties up the remaining loose ends. Dr. Robert Mehta and Captain Addis are arrested by Norwegian police and extradited to the UK for trial. They face charges for the murders of Anne Lyngstad and Ben Morgan, Laura's ex-boyfriend and fellow journalist, who died trying to protect her. Ben's death is one of the film's most tragic turns. He was the one who accidentally tipped off Richard about her investigation, putting her life in danger. But in the end, he redeems himself by saving her, a moment that costs him everything. Laura later finds Ben's old Japanese vinyl collection, something he'd been calling her about before the trip. She finally realizes he wasn't just calling for his belongings, he was trying to make things right. The vinyl becomes her last connection to him, a bittersweet reminder of love lost to circumstance. Themes beneath the surface. At its core, The Woman in Cabin 10 is about power, corruption, and how easily the truth can be buried, both literally and metaphorically. It shows how people with privilege can manipulate reality itself, buying silence and rewriting stories to their liking. But it's also about women, their resilience, their empathy, and their refusal to stay quiet. Anne, Carrie, Sigrid, and Laura each represent different facets of womanhood. Anne symbolizes selflessness and legacy. Carrie represents survival and redemption. Sigrid stands for moral courage, and Laura embodies truth-seeking. Together, they dismantle a man's empire built on lies.
What are you doing?
Ending meaning. The ending of The Woman in Cabin 10 might seem like a straightforward murder mystery at first, but there's more beneath the waves. It's not just about murder or money, it's about storytelling itself. Who gets to tell the story? Who gets silenced? And what happens when someone refuses to stay quiet? Richard's downfall wasn't just caused by his greed. It was caused by underestimating the women around him. He believed money and manipulation could buy him a clean escape, but it was the truth and the courage of those who dared to tell it that destroyed him. Carrie's survival, Laura's article, and Sigrid's act of defiance all come together to show that justice doesn't always come through the system. Sometimes it comes from conscience. In the end, Laura's final story isn't just about Anne Lyngstad's death. It's about the world Anne wanted to create, one built on compassion, not control. A world where truth matters more than power.
Richard Bullmer will henceforth no longer be involved with the foundation.
Our nerdy thoughts. So that's the full breakdown of The Woman in Cabin 10, a thriller that begins as a murder mystery but ends as a quiet, powerful statement on morality and media. If you caught any details I missed or have your own theories about what Laura's article might have said, drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the latest movies and shows. This has been your host, Spoiler Master, signing off, reminding you that sometimes the real mystery isn't who died, but who dared to tell the truth about it.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.